You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Posture Screen, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Moguls, Fit to Lift, 5-Star Management, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Health USA, Local Gold, The Goodman Factor, McCaffrey Clinical Mentoring, Go Get Talks, Chiro Thin, Unmarket Your Practice, and Free My Pain Now with Dr. Matt DeDuro. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 134 of Chiro Hustle. I'm your co-host Luke. Here's your host, Jim.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Jason Deitch with a concept that many of you will want to pay attention to. It's called unmarketing your practice. Stay tuned. All right, so this is episode 134 with Jason Deitch, and we're going to be talking to him today about what caused him to jump into the chiropractic profession, because I know you come from a marketing background, and from your bio that you sent this, you actually wrote a marketing book before you got into chiropractic school. But I'll let you tell more of that story. But first question for you is, what influenced you to become a chiropractor?
You know, when I was 8 years old, I met a guy who eventually married into my family, became my uncle, who was graduating New York Chiropractic College in pretty much the mid-70s, 1976, 1977. And he was kind of a hippie guy who went to chiropractic school, was graduating, and had a vision of changing healthcare and changing the world because he was teaching people about the power they have to heal themselves, the understanding and appreciation and respect for this thing called innate intelligence and universal intelligence, the relationship of those things and the thing we know as our brain, skull, and spinal cord and spine. And at 8 years old, besides feeling good to get adjusted, that concept just made all the sense in the world to me. And it has been an idea that has stuck with me this entire time and has literally, driven me to make the decisions I have over the years. I went to Northeastern University, studied marketing. And as I was graduating, my dad would say to me, okay, what next big thing are you going to do with your marketing degree? And when I told him I wanted to become a chiropractor, he basically, fell off his chair and, thought that was just completely insane. His feedback was, I never knew you wanted to become a doctor. Why'd you do all this marketing stuff if you want to be a doctor? And I said, well, my intention really isn't to become a doctor as much as it is to market a message. And to me, marketing means communication. It doesn't mean what most people think it means, which is advertising. So to me, the idea of building new communication, a new story for our very broken healthcare system that respects nature, that respects our ability to heal ourselves, that allows us non-pharmacological solutions first. But ultimately, the big difference, in my opinion, between sort of natural healing and what I believe we're talking about is the focus and emphasis on human potential and performance. So wherever you are on the spectrum, to have an eye towards your goal being, how do I function at my best? How do I perform at my best? Whether you have a symptom or don't have a symptom was a story I thought that was absolutely revolutionary as much as it was obvious. And it's been sort of that interplay that's driven me. Quick, long story short, after my dad and I had that debate for so long, and my dad tried to, in his opinion, save me from making a mistake, I debated with him about, why, his son was making a great decision. Long story short, I said, Dad, why don't you just try it? He started getting adjusted. He started experiencing what I was talking about. He became good friends with his chiropractor. And several years later, after he said, this is awesome, and gave me his blessing, he actually decided, in his words, to follow in his son's footsteps. And at 55 years old, my dad decided to go to chiropractic school. So it's been a passion for literally since I was 8 years old, 42 years now. of an idea whose time has come. I still believe it's coming. And that's been, a driving force for my, why I became a chiropractor, why I practiced, but also it's why I retired from practice and really went into doing what I do, writing books and, creating Amplified and everything else I do. It's unfortunate that this continues to be the world's best kept secret. And I hope to do something about that.
So now that you're here, what would you say makes you unique in the chiropractic world? You mentioned you're an author. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I guess what makes me unique is I'm crazy passionate to keep my eye on getting the story of the big idea out to as many people as possible. I've had every adversity you can ask for the most part, within reason and realm. I've had every excuse to quit and not continue to stay with this. And yet there's a driving force that this is a message humanity needs to hear. And through just a variety of life and time and circumstances and so on, I keep my eye on that ball, that the most important thing here is how do we get the message out to as many people as possible. I think one of the things that makes me unique is that perspective. I find myself with, I'll say, a very contrarian perspective amongst contrarians. And what I mean by that is, I think one of the reasons why our profession continues to be the best kept secret in healthcare is because we've become addicted to this idea of marketing. We've become addicted to the idea of, if I take this action, what's my ROI? What am I going to get if I do this? And so we limit our activities, we limit our contributions, we limit what we put out into our communities locally, collectively as a profession, to only those things that we can measurably create a personal or professional financial benefit from, which creates this self-fulfilling prophecy that, well, if I'm going to put forth the effort of putting a message out there, I better get something from it. I better get new patients out of it. Otherwise, why would I waste my time? And the answer then becomes this, I think, mess, which is the messages that are going to get people into your office tomorrow and the next day in a measurable ROI type of a way is a very different message than if you were sharing the truth about what you do, if you were sharing the truth about the long-term benefits people could experience from what you do, if you were to share your mindset, your filter, your philosophy on how you think, as opposed to just jumping to what I know is very popular amongst almost everyone in the profession, that basically says, well, you've got to get them in on the things that are most important to them and then convert them. And I understand the argument. I'm not saying per se that it's wrong. I'm not interested in arguing or debating one or the other. I am just simply saying that there are consequences to that mindset. There are, and these are the consequences. People just don't understand us. They don't understand why they would stay with care for an extended long period of time beyond, if I don't, my symptom will probably return and I don't want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not enough emphasis on really teaching people what we think, so that those people, those other professions, those people in our communities, those politicians, those reporters, those journalists, those movie stars, all the influencers who are out there and could be helping us, but don't, because we don't really share the best part about what it is that we do regularly on a way that they can really explain the unique difference. And yet we see things like yoga and Pilates and all kinds of philosophies of health that really do, I guess, share proudly how they are unique, how they focus on what may be called wellness, human performance, mindfulness, something beyond a drugless approach to pain relief. And so we become our own worst enemies. Now, there was a reason why that happened for so long, and that was because traditional mainstream media had a high cost and you had to spend a lot to say a little. And so in those circumstances, I totally understand if you have to make a financial investment, you've got to justify your return for that financial investment. But enter social media, and all of a sudden the entire equation changes. The challenge is most of our profession is still behaving like it's 1999, and here we are about to enter 2020.
You said some things that really sparked my attention. And one of those was talking about branding and marketing. I know that you have come out with a concept for the profession to think about deeper is unmarketing. And I know that you keep your eye on where the puck is going. So what's with this whole unmarketing thing? Because I think that's what makes you unique.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that is a mindset. And let me be clear with listeners up front, because I know there's what I say and I know there's what they hear, and sometimes those aren't the same. Ultimately, I believe in a holistic perspective, that it's not one or the other, but everything doesn't need to go through the filter of what am I going to get if I do the right thing. I think we need to ask better questions. So unmarketing is the idea. The way I describe it in my book and my online training, the training's available at unmarketclass.com. I'm sure you'll see links. But what I teach there is that people have the mainstream market. What marketing is intended to do, the whole philosophy of marketing, is to reach people who are actively, presently searching for a chiropractor. And typically what that means, as most marketing experts will teach you, most chiropractic marketing experts will teach you, is that when people go to a search engine, they should find you first and highest so they can choose you. Now, I'm going to go upstream a little bit from that mindset. Now, there's nothing wrong with that mindset. I understand if somebody's searching for natural pain relief, that this would be a good thing for them to find, and you would be a good person for them to go to. I've got no argument about any of that. However, if the goal and objective is longer term, if we want to ever transcend the question amongst ourselves, which is, why don't people understand what we really do? There's a really simple answer to that. We're not sharing it with them. Actively, consistently, and deeply enough. We are not amplifying our truth on any regularity or consistency, because we've been taught if there's not an ROI, it's not worth doing. So unmarketing your practice is the concept that instead of only exclusively focusing on what I believe I've sort of calculated to be roughly about 1% of the population, if you only focus on messaging to those people that are actively in pain, actively searching for a chiropractor today in this moment, your numbers are roughly less than 1% of the entire population, okay? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying, what do we do with the other 99% who may not actively be going to a search engine this moment today, may not be able to calculate by next week that you spent X amount on your ad and you've calculated X that came into your office as a result of it, and therefore your calculations are correct. What are we speaking to? What are we proactively doing? How are we messaging our practices to those people? And I've developed a protocol I call the Unmarket Your Practice protocol. It's 3 simple steps on the mindset on how to build communication systems to reach the 99+% of the people who absolutely are eligible, likely even many of them interested in what you really do if they only had access to it. I'm going to say that's the first step to the unmarket class or unmarket your practice type idea. The second part, and this is kind of one of my biggest beefs with the profession, and because I'm one of us, and I've been doing this so long, I sort of take a little bit of a privilege to be able to be critical of our own. And my criticism to many chiropractors sounds a bit like heresy. So for those that want to be critical, for those that want to go, yeah, but try to understand where I'm coming from before you just react and disagree. And my point is this: many of us are or should be very proud to be chiropractors. No question about that. However, I believe that the moment you say, "Hi, I'm a chiropractor," nice to meet you, Jim. What do you do? Well, I might say, nice to meet you, Jason. What do you do? I'm a chiropractor. Oh, what do you do? Well, I have a chiropractic practice. I provide chiropractic care, and we help people who are in pain feel better without the use of drugs and surgery. Some version of that. Oh, that's a very limited perspective. And, as many would say, there's really not much of a news flash in any of that for anyone. As my friend Brad Glowacki likes to say, at this point, people either swear by you or swear at you, right? There's already a preconceived, I might dare call it prejudice, a prejudgment about what chiropractors are and what chiropractors do. The problem, the limitation, I think the fault with this concept is that people don't understand what it is most chiropractors really do. And the bigger issue is we all do something slightly differently. So, Jim, you go around the world bringing people into chiropractors' offices. So you experience this front end on the front lines. And the reality is, you may know very clearly what the chiropractor you're representing in your community does. And you could probably articulate that beautifully. But I also know that if you work for 50 different chiropractors, they kind of have 50 different ways of sort of describing what it is that they do. And one of the worst, one of the most difficult, it might even be impossible to answer, one of the worst questions most of us get is, I love what you're teaching me right now, but I don't live here, I live there. Who does what you're talking about in my town? One of the most difficult questions to answer, even amongst chiropractors and our friends, people we like a lot. This to me is the equivalent of if the legal profession, if all attorneys limited their explanation. Hey, nice to meet you. Jason, what do you do? Oh, I'm an attorney. Well, unless I can answer the question, what type of attorney are you? What type of attorney am I? I'm a tax attorney. I'm a corporate attorney. I'm a divorce attorney, criminal attorney. I'm a prosecutor. I'm a defender. Could you imagine what the legal profession would look like if all we did was all refer to ourselves as attorneys? And somebody goes to a criminal attorney and goes, oh, I'm moving to the other side of the country. I'll look for an attorney there. And they walk into a estate planning attorney's office because they both say attorney. The confusion, the frustration, and how attorneys would have to evolve the way they communicate and their practice to accept everybody looking for legal services into their practice because everybody's confused. And the reason they're all confused is because we have not done the work to be a touch more creative, put a touch more effort into our communication so people can actually sort of realize this is the type of chiropractor you are, this is the type of person I am, and this is the type of service I will most benefit from. If we just simply sort of take the personal side of it out and look at it in another profession, we'd go, that would be a mess. Well, what would be the answer? The answer would be attorneys should do a better job articulating their specialty, the type of clients they want to attract, the type of service they want to specialize in, and advance or improve their communication. So you could say some version of, I specialize in corporate taxes, so large companies who are looking to save money can do it ethically and legally with my counsel. That is a far different answer than I'm an attorney and I help people find justice. So those are my, I think, things that make me somewhat unique. I have a very, I'll say, contrarian perspective than what most of our profession is being taught and is being exposed to. I think we've got to take the high road, I'll call it. I'm not against getting people in your office because you need new patients now. I am for making sure you invest some time, whether you want to call it charity or whether you want to call it winning the long game. We position this, the difference between marketing and unmarketing to me is the difference between hunting and farming. They can both provide you food. There are pros and cons to both methods. Nobody says you have to only do one and not the other. But I can argue a lot of limitations to hunting. As much as it'll give you probably the quickest immediate gratification, you go out, you kill the animal, and you can eat as soon as you've done it. Different than farming. I got to plant some seeds. I'm not getting food for a while. And if I don't understand what the farming psychology means or includes, I may think it doesn't work because my expectation is that it's supposed to work like my hunting does. Mm. So I'll go, okay, I planted seeds and I even put some water on it like you told me, but I did it yesterday and I'm still not seeing any results. And of course that would be ridiculous.
And then you know what they do, Dr. Jason, is they blame the soil and not themselves.
And there you have it.
And that's just it. When you think about what you just discussed with us, so much of this is about saturation of the marketplace rather than instant gratification. And right now, with our abilities to do a multi-pronged approach, when it comes to the social platforms, when it comes to our community events, when it comes to these different facets of marketing and what actually does work, you just have to do a little bit of each of them. Because like you said, if you go out there and just hunt, then you're not going to have anything to go with the meat. And if you just go out there and farm the field, then you're not going to have anything to give you protein and nutrients on that different level of the food pyramid. So if we want to talk about like what actually fuels us, then we have to have a little bit of each of them. And if we want to have like, you know, the full plate filled, then we have to think about what can we do on an individual basis with the people here? How can we get those people to stay, pay, and to refer? Obviously, chiropractors love that line. And how can we get more new ones? They love that stuff too.
That's right.
If we start speaking their language and we start delivering them what they want and what they need, now we're changing the way that they approach the long-term game, which is when they do well and they have good clarity, then you know what that does? That helps the GDP of chiropractic.
That's right.
And chiropractors, in my opinion, have gotten on this island mentality. I do it this way. The guy down the street's wrong. I do it this way. The way that they market, I'll never do that. They do it this way. I do it that way. I went to this school. I do this technique. I only go to these seminars. Everybody else that goes to the other ones are wrong. Whereas when it comes down to it, everybody is right because that's what they believe. And chiropractic belief systems will evolve. If they don't, then they will play second fiddle for the long-term game, and they'll never get that first chair. So what you're saying is so true. And that's why what we did with Hustle is we wanted to bring everybody to the table and say, hey, there's room for all of you. Now let's start telling the real truth of who you are, what makes you unique, and where you see the profession going. Because when we start having this cultural conversation, that's when we start challenging these preconceived 1999 presets, and we can push into 2020 effectively, not just as the one guy with the flag that's waving and says, hey, I see 500 a week and I'm cool. But what happens to the guy that we lose one of our soldiers, 1 and 2, after 5 years of practice that no longer practices? And then there's that void in the profession of somebody that was supposed to succeed, that was supposed to be that doctor, that was supposed to be that one person in the family that succeeded as the doctor. And now there's a void in that community. There's a void in that family because somebody didn't know how to go out there and harvest their community and provide services and provide for their family with this beautiful profession of chiropractic.
What you're saying, Jim, is really, I think, essential. And it touches to the essence of obviously what I'm saying here. And I very much think that what I just described is very much part of the problem. And I just want to acknowledge you for the observation and for seeing it this way. I believe that the diversity in our profession needs to be our strength. I just do. And there will never be a day, and I've spoken to people on all kinds of levels within the profession that think that the ultimate answer would be for us to all do the same things so that there's consistency, that if you go to a chiropractor in California, you'll get the same service in New York. But there's never going to be a day that all chiropractors are going to do the same things or say the same things consistently. nor should they, just like there will never be a day, nor is there ever a need for all attorneys to provide the same services. The animosity, what you described, which holds our profession back, I believe stems from the fact that we all want to claim the one title chiropractor. So if I describe chiropractic one way and Luke describes it a different way, then and we're only willing to call ourselves chiropractor, like they're only willing to call themselves attorney, then we've got to fight. Because I'm going to go, no, that's not what it is. This is what it is. And he's going to go, no, that's not what it is. This is what it is. And we're going to argue.
And that's what it's become.
And that's what it's become. And that's precisely the weakness, as opposed to evolving and understanding beyond our own immediate survival, which is very, unfortunately, where many practices live because of this self-fulfilling prophecy. The confusion creates the frustration creates the confusion. We just keep banging our heads against the wall, arguing. We're our own worst enemies, as far as I'm concerned. And it's a tragedy, not only for our profession, but even worse for our communities, our culture, and our world. Let me just ask everybody listening to think about this for a moment. We are in the undeniable worst human tragedy of history called the opioid crisis. There's no question. There's no pro-opioid lobby. There's nobody saying we need more opioids in the world. This is the one topic that we can agree with, perhaps besides the Sackler family and the pharmaceutical industry. Everybody else is seeing this is a disaster. The number one reason why people are becoming addicts is because of musculoskeletal conditions. And no, that doesn't mean I am limiting chiropractic to only those things. I am having a conversation about the fact that it's pretty undeniable that for those people that have those conditions, we can help them. How is it that we are experiencing the worst tragedy in human history? How is it that there is plenty of science and evidence and experience of people having a positive effect healing from these musculoskeletal conditions without the use of drugs, let alone opioids? And the crisis continues, and we still maintain ourselves as the best kept secret. There's just something that makes zero sense whatsoever if we can look at it beyond me and mine. Here's my message to my community, for my patients, and my ROI. And like you said, Luke, very unfortunately accurate, is that if somebody's doing it differently than the way we are, we'd rather argue with them, tell them they're wrong, demonize them, and fracture our own profession, as opposed to be able to unite on the things we agree on and respect the things we don't. I cannot see why a divorce attorney has to argue with a tax attorney about what law is. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever if we can evolve beyond the fact that we're all arguing for one title.
Well, what you're doing here is you're setting the great stage for us to have an amazing conversation on chiropractic. And I wholeheartedly appreciate this one. One of the things that I wanted to interject with, I know I'm going to pass the mic here to Luke in a minute here, but as you said something, it really takes me back to this pretense of something that Jay Comerick shared with me, and he's got sage wisdom. If you guys don't know who Jay Comerick is, go Google Jay Comerick and watch his movie Life Adjusted, because chiropractic isn't about what we tell somebody, it's about how they feel after it. And it takes an animal to show that chiropractic care isn't about how much they paid for a service or if insurance covered it or if it was against drugs. It just shows that the life expression changes. So what you're saying here is a very different dogmatic approach to what has been thought chiropractic to be as to what it really is. So I appreciate you sharing like the confusion and the dogma of where the profession is and what we need to become. Because if we don't celebrate something I talked about up in Boulder about 3 years ago now, when I spoke to the philosophy group up there, it's unity through diversity. And I said, if I go get an appointment at your clinic right now, you're going to take care of me differently. You're going to do a full intake, a full exam. You're going to process me the way you think is fit. If I go get another appointment at the next clinic in the same day, you're going to intake me. You're going to process me. You're going to do whatever you do with me differently. And if I go to 5 more offices throughout this day, all of you guys are going to manage me under chiropractic care the way that you see fit, the way that you went to school for, the way that your license tells you to do so. And that's the dogmatic approach, is why we need to come together and realize that this is a unity of diversity profession, rather than I have it right, you have it wrong, and all you other people, you definitely have it wrong. But me and my group that I go and have little parties with and seminars, we all have it right.
That's right. I appreciate the social benefit of it. I do. And in fact, what I've created in the Unmarket Your Practice protocol, again, if you go to unmarketclass.com, I go through 6 modules teaching how do you build what I refer to as a health tribe. How do you build an online audience so that, let me say it this way, and you're both wise and you understand the thought process of today's digital world, digital business, and you can really simplify it to one simple concept, that your financial future will depend on how many people you have the ability to reach with the click of a button or the tap of an app every day for free. Okay? Not how many people you can spend a lot of money to interrupt, to put a deep discount ad, to come in for one thing that's likely slightly different than what you really want to sell them or offer them. That is called advertising. I'm talking about something different. The ability to have a subscriber base of people who willingly want to learn from you every single day because they value who you are, they align with your mindset, and believe you can contribute to their betterment of their life and lifestyle and community.
Amen.
2 different things. And so what I'm teaching for those that are beyond just the emergency of, if I don't have more new patients in my practice next week, I'm going out of business. That's an emergency. And drugs are appropriate for emergencies. I think of advertising at some level as a drug if you're using it to save yourself from disaster. If you're going out of business next week because you don't have more new patients now, you take emergency measures. But if you try to keep on applying emergency measures as your healthcare, you end up with a sick care system like our healthcare system. Drugs are not the solution to everything that's going to improve your health. They're there and valuable and even life-saving in some cases.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Posture Screen, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Moguls, Fit to Lift, 5-Star Management, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Health USA, Local Gold, The Goodman Factor, McCaffrey Clinical Mentoring, Go Get Talks, Chiro Thin, Unmarket Your Practice, and Free My Pain Now with Dr. Matt DeDuro. Let's hustle.
So how do you put together, how do you think about, how do you systematize your communication, your unique expression of chiropractic? As we've said, we're all slightly different. How do you build an audience on Facebook, on Instagram, via email? How do you build what I think of as a direct-to-consumer communication hub so that every single day you are teaching, sharing, planting seeds of knowledge, of growth, of inspiration, so that you build an audience of people that want to learn from you and then use your opportunity within that audience for those people that are learning from you to keep learning more. So it may start online and then evolve into a longer format online webinar, Facebook Live, private group, which then may give them enough knowledge, connection, relationship, inspiration, and timing to then make it into your office, to start care and continue to enjoy care without the same limited mindset questions. Do you take my insurance? Am I gonna feel better? And why would I keep coming back if I do feel better? Which tends to be about the extent of most conversations that go on in most offices because of how we're putting our messaging out there and the type of people coming into our practice. One thing's really simple that we forget, we miss the obvious in all of this. If you advertise pain relief, then you're going to attract people looking for pain relief. And people looking for pain relief are not the same people who are interested in a more holistic philosophy of health, wellness, and well-being. They're not the same people interested in investing in their health in the long term. They're people who basically are saying the drug stopped working or didn't work enough, and I'm finally going to give something else a try, because rarely in reality are we the first place they turn. So we've got this, again, self-fulfilling prophecy. We've got to, I know, meet them where they're at. I know all the arguments about why to continue doing what we're doing. I get it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying there's consequences. And if we want a different outcome as a profession, then we need to do something different. And if there's any question as to what I'm saying being true or not, then let's just look at the consequences right now of what the messaging we've been putting out there for several decades has led to. I think you've, in fact, Jim, gone on the street and done the exact interviews that are necessary to be done right now, which is asking the public, what do you think of chiropractic? Have you ever gotten a reasonable answer that is even in the ballpark of impressive? Typically not. Is it their fault? I don't think so. In fact, there was a video program recently done by Ron Oberstein, president of Life West, where they sent a film crew on location to Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. These are smart, educated millennials, I guess you'll call them. And they asked that exact question. And we as a profession should be embarrassed of their answer, both in terms of attitude and their inability to articulate what it is that we really do. In today's day and age, that's on us. There was a time where I thought, they're all just stupid. That is not the case. They're just uninformed. And the reason they're uninformed is because we're not informing them of the message we really want them to get. We're informing them of the things that are going to be to our most immediate benefit at our profession's long-term cost. If you look at what's going on in the world and the current perception of who we are and what we do, that's my proof. So
I'm curious, where do you see the profession winding up in the next 20 years?
That's a wonderful question. The only honest answer I can give you is I have no idea, because it depends on us. And so as Guy Riepman, who is a great friend and mentor of mine, who's received this question pretty much every time he's in front of groups of people, his standard response is wherever we decide to take it. And I agree. So my hope, well, before I go there, I'll acknowledge, and I know we love to make each other feel good, and we love to be optimistic, and, you know, we love to the pride of, you know, we're the best and our version's the best and we're going to do it and we're dominating and we're taking over. I appreciate the feel good of that. I have no evidence to believe that that's actually in fact true. It sounds good and it feels good, and I would like to believe it. But the only way that becomes true is if we do something, I'm going to dare say perhaps different and better than what we're doing collectively now. I do believe that these tools we're communicating on right this very moment, if you're watching, this is proof that for free, we can produce a message of our own liking and build an audience of people who are interested in hearing it. That's what Jim has done. And Luke, forgive me, that's what you are doing. That's what's happening. And there's no reason every chiropractic practice can't follow the same methodology. Build an audience of people that want to learn uniquely from you. Not because you're educating them about chiropractic and teaching them everything they never wanted to know about it, but because you are inspiring them to be the best version of themselves they can possibly be. And you have a unique perspective, philosophy, and service that can help them reach what they want, which is their goals, not yours. Now, if we can take that perspective, if we can really learn to harness how to use social media, and if we can start implementing these really easy to use tools, we have every ability to, I'll say, help tear down the metaphoric Berlin Wall of drugs and chemicals first. All right? We have that opportunity. There's no question the world is listening. Even the medical profession, and I'm involved in a variety of projects that prove even the medical profession are looking for solutions. Evidence-based, and science says, all of the guidelines say that non-pharmacological solutions should be used first, to the point that our profession should be speaking up about the malpractice of other professionals not referring to a non-pharmacological professional first. That should be considered malpractice. I know if we don't refer out for an emergency, that's considered malpractice. I think the door swings both ways. And nowhere am I saying that chiropractic is a profession that's limited to this, but it would be ignorant to think that we should ignore it. So how do we start thinking in a more positive way as individual practices? How do we start respecting our brothers and sisters who are also providing wonderful services, in spite of the fact that it might be different in every way than ours? All right? The line in the sand, in my opinion, is no prescribing drugs. Whatever else you're doing in your profession, I can tolerate, and I may not agree with. To me, the line in the sand is we just don't prescribe drugs. That's not what we do. Okay? So how do we build communities, all right? And I'll just sort of take this a step further if you'll allow me the opportunity. And again, if you go to unmarkedclass.com, you'll see broken down in 6 modules how to implement this high-level conversation. But the way, you asked me about the dream, what's it going to look like in the future? Here's the dream. If you were to think, if you were in active practice right now, and you were to think of yourself first as a messenger, and second as a technician, that your first job is to be what I call a mentor over a marketer, and you thought of your communication channels, Facebook, Instagram, email, your in-office videos, your workshops you provide in your practice, internally, externally in your community, and digitally online. If you were to think that your opportunity is to use those channels as amplifiers for your message, just like people who watch television are brainwashed, they are programmed to believe that sickness is normal. And asking your doctor about the latest, greatest, the science is settled on this one, drug that's going to lead to your beautifully visual life you're going to live if you just watch this commercial and feel all those beautiful emotions that come out every time you see the aspirational, beautiful commercial that if I only get the next best drug by asking my doctor, I assume I'll live that lifestyle too. If we were to take responsibility for our messaging and stop arguing about the presidents of colleges and associations and all of those leaders who aren't doing their jobs, but if we were to start focusing on doing our jobs in the trenches, in the field, if you thought of your communication channels, if your mentality, if your mindset was, I'm going to think of myself as my local cable station, the local cable company, Try this for a moment. The job of the local cable company is to sign up as many subscribers to the cable company as they possibly can. You could think of this like Netflix in a way, but there's a breakdown in my metaphor, so I don't go there. Your local cable company is intended to sign up as many subscribers as they possibly can to subscribe to the local cable system, cable service, right? Make sense? You with me?
Mm-hmm.
They do that not by saying, join the cable company, join the cable company. That's not what they do. What they do is they say, here's your favorite programs or your favorite channels, and you can get those by subscribing to this cable company, all right? So the mindset is you can be building a subscriber base based on the programming you choose to put out 24/7. Literally, you could think about, if you thought about Facebook, Instagram, email, your in-office videos, your messaging all week long in your office, online in your community, your Facebook Lives, all of it. If you thought about it as your job is to get as many subscribers as you can so that you can earn the opportunity to keep inspiring and teaching them more in the future, what would that look like and sound like? And the answer is we would get a lot more creative about what we're teaching people to live a better life and lifestyle. If we got more creative in teaching people how to subscribe to our programming to live a better life and lifestyle, then that would position us as the leaders of what I'll call proactive healthcare. I actually like to call it organic healthcare and human performance. I think that, again, going back to what I know chiropractors do not like to hear, but I'm going to say my truth anyway. The moment we go, hi, I'm a chiropractor, I provide chiropractic care, and I want to teach you about chiropractic, most people go, been there, done that, I know what you do, you don't need to tell me. There's not a lot of room for learning when we approach it from that standpoint. Even most chiropractors don't have the time to learn more about chiropractic care, okay? Except for the few. So if we thought about ourselves as mentors, if we thought about these channels as teaching or programming opportunities, and we realize that step one is to build as large of a subscriber base as we can so that we earn the right to keep teaching over time, then the larger audience, there's a saying that says your net worth is equivalent to your net work. You all know this because you see this. The Grant Cardones and those that are out there making millions of dollars online are doing it very simply because they built a large enough audience to teach and keep on teaching. And people buy their products, attend their events, buy their coaching, buy their services. There's a very simple, proven methodology. I would love to see chiropractors start thinking of themselves as messengers first and technicians second. That your job is to build an audience of people you want to teach, not only about the subluxation, not only about neurology, but things like the impact the brain has on human performance, the impact of our mindset or goal setting, the impact of our self-esteem. And one of my favorite ones, and we've actually built a lecture that we're giving away to docs, and it's called Teaching. There's a whole PowerPoint presentation on this and everything. That, in my opinion, our greatest opportunity today and the future to do what I just described is to start teaching our community how to take control of your news feed and make social media healthy for you. Presented by your local chiropractor. There is a lot of conversation in the news, in the media, about how all these social networks are addictive, how they're dangerous, how they're bad, how they influence our election, how they're causing depression and worse, how they're creating all these negative things in our society. And I can't say that that's not happening, but what I can say is it's not Facebook's fault. I ask the question, is TV bad for you? Is radio bad for you? Are books bad for you? Is the radio bad for you? Are these information distribution technologies inherently bad? The answer is, of course not. It depends on what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're listening to. And negative content does have negative consequences. So my question is, if Facebook, Instagram, and all these social media channels can make bad things happen theoretically, aren't they just as powerful to make good things happen? And is it Facebook's fault that doctors are not proactively putting great content, inspiring people, and teaching them how to live a healthy and healthy lifestyle? It's not Facebook's fault. We're not rising to the occasion to learn how to use these technologies and turn them into tools that in fact can be healthy for us. I think that's the greatest opportunity our profession has now and for the future, because we know we're all, there's all this conversation about the monopolies of Facebook and Google and how we're all victims of. And what I'm teaching is that if you understand the methodology of building your own, of owning your own direct-to-consumer communication channel that, yes, lives on Facebook, on Instagram, on email, and a variety of other ways in which, right? Every platform has its vulnerabilities. No one platform is exclusively perfect. So we want to diversify our ability to communicate with people across multiple channels and stay relevant. So that's the sort of strategic mindset behind all of this. I teach it at unmarketclass.com, the mindset of a mentor over a marketer, the mindset of farming versus hunting, and the mindset of how to really win the long game, not just how to make sure that you don't go out of business next week. Those are the mentalities, the consciousness. And not only do I teach, and this is one of the things, Jim, you and I have been talking about this for a while now about, are you ready to share? Are you ready to share? And my answer has been, no, I'm not ready yet. And the reason I haven't been ready yet is not because the ideas weren't ready, but I've been very cautious and strategic in that I don't want to bring up a problem that I don't have a solution to solve. So I can be a complainer like everyone else and go, this sucks and it should be better and somebody should do something about it. Or I can say, here's what you should do. And everybody would go, you're right, and I should. But I'm not a researcher, I'm not a copywriter, I'm not a graphic designer, I'm not a content manager. My team, my practice do not have the resources to execute on that really creative idea. So we are finally in the place where I can now say, hello, everyone. Let's shine some light on some of the dark areas of our profession, some of the mindset limitations we have. And I can also now say, if you want to learn what I'm talking about and do it yourself for free, you can. And if you want to learn what I'm talking about and have most of it done for you with a service or agency that handles most of the hard work and heavy lifting, the day-to-day stuff to get it done and to keep it sustainable, because it's easy to get a good idea for a week or so, but to keep staying with it over the long run is really hard. We've built the infrastructure to now not only teach it, but help support doctors who want to go down that approach. The longer you wait, the longer it takes to start building momentum. That's where we are right now. I dream that in 20 years from now, you've got a cultural shift that has taken place because of what we're now doing here in 2019 and 2020. And if I didn't think it was possible, I'd have quit and moved on to other things that would be far more profitable than what I do here right now.
Well, as we wrap up this interview, I know Luke has some final remarks, but I'm just going to touch on a couple topics. As Chiro Hustle, as Jim Chester, I definitely control our news feed. I definitely know that I am only aligned with brilliant people that do brilliant things. And if there are people out there that are doing things that aren't sustainable for relationship reasons, those people don't exist in the news feed anymore. So I definitely safeguard what I see and who I interact with. So I appreciate you bringing up that topic. And thank you for aligning with us. Thank you for trusting us as one of those megaphones in the profession that are doing it the right way. We have taken this free resource and we have invested into it gradually to realize that if we start amplifying our message, I took chiropractic under my wing when it wasn't cool. And I want to see what we do as we go forward together, as we create something amazing to show people out there that are uneducated, that are misguided, that are thinking that chiropractors are only for musculoskeletal concerns, that are thinking that chiropractors are only for slip and falls and MVAs and LBP and headaches and, you know, whatever it might be that the consumer thinks it's for. And that's why they don't stick around and stay, pay, and refer. And that's why they don't become lifelong advocates of this beautiful healthcare profession of chiropractic. These are the reasons why I believe that we caught the wave at the right time, is because we realized that it was the underdog of this health arena. We realized that if we were consistent, something you touched on there, and if we just kept on hammering forward, we would get access to the most brilliant minds of the world that are the healers of this world, that are the conduits for success of the future. So thank you for aligning with us. And one of the other things I want to touch on is you call it becoming something else. You call it becoming, I don't remember the exact term you used instead of the technician, but people have to become a media company first. They have to look at what they have access to as the media company of the front of their business model, rather than just them as the technician chiropractor that everybody's confused on what they deliver. So we have to be consistent. We have to brand it the right way, knowing that we are a media company. And yeah, people do want to learn how people got better at your clinic. They do want to know who you are and why you got into it and what you're there for the long term for. They do want to know what you do. They want to know you. You are the charismatic leader of your messaging. So when people think about it as, yeah, I just do it this way and I don't have to tell anybody, the worst person to me, Dr. Jason, is the one that says, oh man, I just run a referral-based practice and I don't care about anything else. I'm cool. And I'm like, no, you are the first person that is in my way of getting chiropractic successful, because now you've got comfortable. And once you get comfortable, we lose growth, we lose pattern of success. And now you're telling everybody else not to go out there and fight harder for this profession and for the reasoning behind why you became that chiropractor. Now you're just crossed arms. You're like, nah, man, I just get these people to refer in and I'm good. And those are the people that we have to retrain. Otherwise, the system's broke.
Jim, I completely agree. I completely agree.
Well, thank you for the agreement. Luke, pass the mic over to you.
We're at the end of our episode. Dr. Jason, do you have any quick links or Facebook pages where people can go to learn more about you?
I do. You can learn what I'm talking about here. There's a specific protocol, very detailed, and I'm giving you the free resources to implement it. So if you want to never pay me a penny, but take what's here and go use it, go to unmarketclass.com, unmarketclass.com. I'm sure Luke will put some links in the bottom. If you want to wake up inspired with me every morning, which is part of this invitation I'm sharing with you, then you can go to Facebook. You can look up Dr. Jason Deitch. My spelling will be there as well. And we share a daily dose of positive inspiration each and every morning. What you want to do to make sure you receive our daily dose of inspiration and to make sure you become part of our health tribe is 3 simple steps. You go to Facebook, you find my page, Dr. Jason Deitch. And this is the new secret that is the way, as you said, to become a media company. Right here, right now, is how you are able to get 100% of your Facebook followers to receive 100% of your posts 100% of the time for free. And it's by following this one step. If you'll go to my Facebook page and if you'll click the like button, L-I-K-E, we all know that part. But the new tactic you want to make sure you're optimized for is to click next to the like button. On desktop, the word says follow. On mobile devices, you'll just simply see an upside down triangle that's a drop down menu. If you will click either the word follow or that drop down menu, you'll see a menu that comes up that will say follow and see first. If you can get people to not only click like, but to click like, follow, and see first. 100% of those people will receive all of your future Facebook posts for free. We have a very specific way, a very specific tactic, and we're teaching a free do-it-yourself approach and a very reasonably paid will do it for you approach to invite people to wake up inspired with you every morning and to receive ongoing daily health reminders in your Facebook newsfeed and Instagram. And so you don't miss any of them for your benefit. So you wake up inspired every morning. You want to make sure you click like, follow, and see first. If you'll follow those very simple steps, both with me, you will experience what you should be doing in your community and your practice yourself. You'll learn either how to do it on your own self-service, you're welcome, or you'll learn how you can outsource most of the heavy lifting and have most of it done for you. So that, Jim, when you talk about sharing your message of your unique story, you have a tribe, an audience, a group of people that are subscribed and are receiving your messages, as opposed to the criticism in the old marketing world that it's a waste of time because only 1 to 5% of those people will ever see your posts anyway. This is the way you solve for that in the long run, in the long game. I appreciate you guys very much. I've been watching what you're doing for a lot of years. You are taking the long run. You're doing the work between documentaries, being on the front end, and helping your audience understand the difference between short-term benefit at the expense of long-term gain and growth. I appreciate what you both do. It's an honor to be involved. Thanks for having me and for sharing this message with your audience. I hope we do more in the days, weeks, and months to come.
Well, thank you for being our guest today, Dr. Jason. This was very informative and educational.
And for me, I just want to say thank you for being a part of the Chiro Hustle family. And I look forward to many more days and masterminding with you as how we can collate our information and share and disseminate greater.
Look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you on the next one.
Talks.com. I'll see you there.
Okay, see ya.
Keep hustling.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.